we are going to talk about the value of visual strategies to support our young learners. So this is more geared towards our early intervention folks, our Head Starts, early childhood. So if you're thinking you're in high school or something like that, this may not be for you. We are all about keeping you guys engaged, so there's going to be a lot of back and forth that we're going to do throughout the session. We have some things that we're going to share with you. There's some handouts that are coming around. We realize that, oh, we only have an hour. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about in an hour. So there's going to be we were going to do like a little make and take until we realized, yeah, you're not going to have time to do a make and take. So that's this little thing that's coming around you can take with you and you can do on your leisure, but we'll kind of show you how to do it, what it's for. There's also a sample schedule for a preschool or early childhood classroom that's coming around. We're going to use that in a little bit. We are also going to use the, wow, I really did a bad job in writing those, didn't I? But we're going to be using those, and we're going to have some Post-its coming around too, because we want some ideas in these different times of a preschool day, how you might use some visuals, and how we can utilize those with our young learners, okay? So, like Karen said, I am Lori Bauerlein. I'm an Associate Supervisor of Early Intervention Preschool with IU-12. So we cover Adams, York, and Franklin counties, South Central PA, right along the Mason-Dixon line. That's where we are located. And I have Kelly Fox with me, so you can introduce yourself there.
Thank you. Good to be here. My name is Kelly Fox. I'm an Associate Supervisor for the IU-12 Early Intervention Preschool Program. So we deliver preschool special education services to students ages 3 through 5.
Okay, so. Maybe. Okay, so I need, or I should say we need to figure out who do we have here? There go our high school people. Middle school.
There they go.
There they go. So that's all good.
All right.
So if you can let us know kind of who our audience is. So are we looking, if you're from Head Start, raise your hand if you're Head Start. Perfect. Early intervention. Nice. Early childhood. Pre-K counts. School age. Ooh, like it. Okay. Did I miss anybody? Psychologists. We're good friends. We love our psychs. So that just gives us an idea as to who we're working with here and how we can kind of gauge this as we go along, what we're going to share and how we're going to share it out. Ready? So we're going to be sharing information and strategies about visuals. I loved the presentation this morning in here because it was a great segue. So I don't know if Christy's in here right now, but it was an awesome segue to what we're going to be talking about, kind of, as Kelly beautifully phrased it, taking a deeper dive into how we use visuals and how we're going to incorporate them into the classroom. We're going to provide an overview. What are visuals? Why do we use them? What's their purpose? How can we utilize those visuals in the classroom to make our classrooms run more smoothly? Wouldn't that be nice? And how we can engage our learners. So that's what that's about. We're going to talk about a sample preschool day, kind of what it looks like, where we can embed visuals throughout the day. That's what these chart papers are for, and that's what we're going to talk about on that. And then, since it is mid-afternoon, you've all had lunch, you just had one session, we just hope that you stay awake. It was too cute of a picture not to put on there, because he's pretty darn cute, isn't he? He's not mine. Mine are too big. So we do have some objectives today. So these are the objectives that we want to try to meet with all of you. Understanding and feeling confident about visual strategies, how we use them, why we use them. Recognize, reflect, and identify how do we increase student engagement. That's important in our little classrooms with our young learners. We need to keep them engaged because what happens if we don't? They're gone. Like the minute you're doing an activity and you forget something and you have to turn your back, they're gone. They're gone. So we have to figure out how we can increase that student engagement. Identify, value, and incorporate student interests. How do we gauge student interest? How do we know? What do they like? What can we pull? What are they into? What are some things that we can do? Just shout them out. Observation. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, we observe them. What do they like to play with? What are they into? What are they working on with their peers? Any of those kinds of things. Who else gives us great information about what their kids are into? Parents. Here's a key point that I'm going to say on that, and then we'll keep moving because I only have an hour. If you send home an interest survey, do it at the beginning of the year. Then send it home again, same one. Don't do a blank one, because parents get irritated if they have to fill it out again. As a parent, I would get irritated too, because I'm like, I just filled this out at the beginning of the school year. Send home the exact same one, make a copy of it first, send it home, and then they can update it. So maybe, like yesterday, they were into Paw Patrol, and today they're now into Ninja Turtles. But you're not going to do it every day. But they can update it as you go. It's also important on that, any aversives that kids have, anything that they do not like. You want to make sure you know that. They're triggers for kids. Here's a case in point. When I taught emotional support, that's where I began, we were doing show and share. And a little girl came to the area that we were doing it. She brought out a doll, and one of my little ones flipped, like screaming, kicking, the whole bit. As soon as she put the doll away, he was fine. The doll was a Dora doll. So I called Mom and I said, hey, what's going on? He was fine. And then she goes, oh my gosh. His sister loves Dora. Dora curtains, Dora bedspread, Dora carpet, Dora, you name it, sheets, everything. So she said at home, we have to make sure her door stays shut because it just triggers him. It's too much because she's always watching it and she was always using the dolls and all of that. Communication strategies, we're going to talk about that. Connecting learning experiences throughout our daily routines, we're going to talk about that. And you're going to have an opportunity to take with you to make a new idea for your classroom. And of course, we're all about having fun in preschool and early intervention, so that's what we're going to do today.
Okay, so when you hear the term visual, what do you think of in your classrooms? What comes to mind? Pictures? What about out in the community? Signs. So what always pops into my head is the McDonald arches, the golden arches, visual. I don't really need much language to know that that's McDonald's. So any objects, pictures, photographs, signs, sign language, anything that we can do to help make that language more concrete. Okay. Now, this single page handout, and out of all of the resources that we're going to share with you today, this is my favorite because I feel like it's going to summarize everything that we talk about today is on this one page for you. So you can get this handout on the website. We have it uploaded with all of the materials that we're going to share with you today. So we're just going to spend a couple of minutes on this. Visuals are permanent. When you say something to a child or you give them a direction or there's a request, you say it goes away. So if you think about the students in your classroom that struggle to comprehend or pay attention, you've said it, maybe it didn't make sense to them, or maybe they weren't paying attention, so they never got it. So one of the most powerful ways to help with those issues is to use visuals, pictures. It also helps for when you're giving kids directions or requests and they're not responding to you, and you've said it a second time or even a third time. How are you as an instructor starting to feel? What's happening? What are you feeling? You're feeling frustrated, right? So the visuals take away that feeling of frustration because you can show the child instead of saying it a fourth time. it makes language more concrete, more permanent. The other really great thing about visuals is that they're transferable between environments. So you create it, you can use it again and again. You can share it with each other. So they're easy to take around. You can take them out onto the playground. You can take them to the cafeteria. If kids are getting on a bus or getting into a car, there you go. You have your visuals again. So it can be very helpful. Okay, go ahead, Lori. Oh, yeah. I think we can all relate to this. We're going to play a little clip for you. Wah, 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 wah. That's what she was hearing. So again, one of the ways to make sense of those instructions or what you are saying when you're in your classrooms is to use the visuals. I sometimes think when we have students that have low comprehension, so I'm thinking of those kids that are at the far left part of the bell curve for their auditory comprehension. So you're saying something and it makes absolutely no sense. It's sounding like wah, 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 wah. How are you going to instruct them? You're going to use the visuals because, again, it makes it more concrete. Yeah.
Sorry, I keep turning off my microphone because it makes noise. Oh, I don't need that, do I? No. Okay, so what do visual strategies do? We just talked a little bit about that as to some of the things that it does for us and for our students. It not only reduces our frustration, but it reduces anxiety on behalf of the students because they know it's coming. So if you have a schedule there, they're like, oh, okay, that's done. I know what's coming next. If you use that first then, they know first I have to do this, then I have to do that. So it just reduces that anxiety as to what's coming next. What does she expect from me or what does he expect from me? So these are some things that we know visual strategies do. First of all, they give information to the learner. It also gives information to us. As when I was teaching in the classroom, I had a visual schedule that was on our board when we were doing circle time or morning meeting or whatever you want to call it. That was for the students, but it was also for me. As you can tell, I can digress a lot. So our circle time, I want to stay on track. So as we finished something, that moved over and we were done. Then we were on the next thing and done. And we just kept flipping them back and forth so that we knew where we were going with circle time. So yes, it was for the students, but it was also for myself. It was also great because how many of us get sick during the year? How many of us try to get subs? Okay, so if a sub comes in, the schedule's right there. So they know exactly what the expectation is for that time of the day, whether it's arrival, whether it's circle, whether it's exercise, fine motor, gross motor, what have you. It also makes the information more clear. As we're standing up here and we're like, blah, 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 it's kind of like the wah, wah, wah sometimes, but if we have the visuals, it's going to be more clear. They can put a picture to what you're saying. So there's that picture to the output. Promote receptive and expressive language. Should have said they serve as reminders also, what's coming up, but it does promote that receptive and expressive language. It pairs the two. It teaches skills. If you think about a recipe, and that's going to be coming up in a little bit, but we're going to watch a little snippet of a video, and if you don't have pictures to go with the recipe and you just have the words, sometimes it doesn't come out what it's supposed to look like, does it? Oftentimes it doesn't come out the way it's supposed to look like for me. But that's something that we use to help us complete activities. So we start and then we have a clear finish as to what it's supposed to look like at the end. It also prevents those problem behaviors. So they know what's coming up. It provides that support when a child does face that challenging behavior. You have your expectations set. You have visuals for those expectations. You review them, you go over them so that they can visually see them throughout the day. It informs the child about their day, what's happening next. Transitions, No issues ever with transitions, right? No, we always have issues with transitions, it seems. So it does help them know, okay, this is coming up. This morning, Christy talked about these timers and doing visual timers and that sort of thing. That's a great visual. And when we talk about visuals, remember, we're just not talking about pictures. Visuals come in all different shapes and sizes and forms. It's pictures, it's objects, it's body language. I'm not good at hiding my body language. I pretty much, if you see it, you kind of know what I mean, right? Helps child understand what they're supposed to do. So again, if you explain it verbally, how many kids are going to be distracted and looking at their neighbor and saying, "It's a really nice green shirt you have there, Amy." It is a beautiful shirt. But they're busy looking at their peers or talking to their peers or poking at their peers. So it gives that other visual to help them understand what's coming up.
Just out of curiosity, how many of you use first then board pictures with some words? Okay. Could anybody speak to their experience with using a first then visual strategy?
Thank you. Right here. Melissa.
So what we found is that the visual needs to be practiced consistently throughout the day, and the language has to be used along with the visual. We have individualized first then boards for some children, and we have school-wide, program-wide boards as well. But it doesn't seem to be as effective without consistency.
So true.
Absolutely. I think consistency and also less language paired with that is better, especially if a child is struggling with their behavior. Because sometimes as kids struggle with their behaviors, we get frustrated, and so part of our frustration comes out in we're using more language with the kid. I told you 3 times we're going to clean up, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do that, and then blah, 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 blah. But remember, less is better, especially in those situations. Does anybody else have anything to share about using first then as a strategy, as a visual strategy?
And basically what's that saying is first you need to do this, but then you get to do this. And a lot of times that then is that preferred something that they get to do. So they get to, okay, if I get this done, then I get to do this. So that's what that then is.
You just stole my answer. Because I teach emotional support in elementary, so my kiddos shut down. Mm-hmm. So having that picture cue, first you get this, then you have that.
Yeah. So you understand my Dora story. That I was ES elementary.
I think the other point is the first then tells the child, it's not just the adult. So, okay, one more comment about first then, and then we'll move on.
I just wanted to make a quick comment that we use first thens all the time. We're preschool special education also. And individualizing the first then, like the expectation for the first is really important too. So for some kids, it might just be a simple command of like, okay, first sit, then fidget, right? Mm-hmm. For another kid, it might be first circle, then iPad, right? So really adjusting the direction or the demand of the first is just as important as having that effective like reinforcer or preferred as the then.
Great point.
Thank you.
So what domains do visuals support? Is behavior a domain? It should be. That's why we put it up there. Behavior, that's over all domains. It happens over any one of those domains, does it not? Cognitive, social, emotional, adaptive, the self-help stuff. Then you have the fine, gross motor types of stuff. Communication, yeah. Do we see behaviors across all those? Oh. Yeah, sometimes ad nauseum. Like, really? You're doing that? So, yeah, it supports all of them. All of those domains that we have. And it supports all children. Visuals don't have to be used specifically for special education. I think that's one thing that we get so ingrained in that we're just using this with our kiddos who are in early intervention, or this is only used for kiddos who need those special services. Visuals help everybody. If we didn't have stop signs, I'd be in trouble. If we didn't have speed limit signs, I'd really be in trouble. But they help all children feel that sense of belonging because everybody's seeing them. Everybody's doing it. Value, they provide choices. We know that kiddos at our young ages, they're very egocentric, right? It's all about me. So it gives them choices because it gives them ownership. You have visuals to give them ownership. It also helps the kiddos participate. You can do it by having them involved in ways that are meaningful. Differential goals for the same activity. The one activity that was done this morning, she was like, thumbs up or thumbs down? Those types of things. That's visuals. Everybody can participate in that. Everybody can put their hands up or hands down. You may have to adapt as you go if you have kiddos with mobility issues, but there's different ways that we can work on that. Working on collaboration. Collaboration with us as staff, collaboration with their peers. Then you take it one step further, it's collaboration with families. Visuals are mobile. They can go anywhere. You can use them anywhere. You can take them with you. So that's really important to keep in mind as well. And visuals promote various levels of participation. It can be individualized. What was your name over yonder? Danielle. Thank you, Danielle. Yes, it can be very individualized. So maybe for one student it looks like this. Then for another student it may look a little bit different. So it can be various levels of that participation.
And for those of us in the room that work with the really young learners, like the 3 to 5 crowd, that participation skill is so incredibly important to get kids ready for kindergarten. Because in kindergarten, kids aren't going to really struggle for maybe not knowing their ABCs, but they're definitely going to struggle if they can't participate. So to build those foundational skills before they get there and the use of visuals so that it helps them to know what to expect, and then they can be better participators.
I'm going to piggyback off on that a little bit. So in Adams County, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to do a little conference called Bridging the Gap. Anybody ever from Adams County in here? Okay, so basically what they did at this little conference was they brought kindergarten teachers, maybe some admin, early intervention people, early childhood Head Start people. We all got together. And we talked about what do you need from us and how can we help support you? Because our learners are coming, right? They're going to school. Eventually they're going to school. So how can we help support you there? And every single year that I went, and it was probably a good 6-7 years in a row that I went, they all said the same exact thing. If you can teach them how to participate and those soft skills, taking turns, sharing, sitting so that we can instruct them as learners, we can teach the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. We don't have time to do all that other stuff. So that's where these visuals, I think, also come important because we are also using those for instructional practices and we can share those with school age as they move on. These are what worked for us. Here they are for you.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, no, I was just going to say she was talking about Adams County, but I think in York, they have what's called First 10.
Yes,
That's
in
what
York
we're
they have
doing now.
First 10.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
So First 10 in your county, would you just explain that a little bit?
We get together with, because I'm preschool, so we get together with the school age, and they said the exact same thing. They rather us teach the social emotional part and how to sit, and
Right.
they can do the rest.
Yeah.
But we just all come together and they teach us some of the stuff that they're doing and using, and it's
Yeah.
similar to what you was explaining.
Yeah. Very good. Yes,
Thank
I
you.
forgot about First 10 in York. Thank you. So visuals are truly a recipe. First, you have to figure out for the recipe what's going to come together to make it work. What ingredients are you putting together to make it all work? Not one size fits all. We know that. The major keys, the willingness, the dedication, the flexibility, the collaboration, the creativity. Thank goodness we're with young kiddos that we can be creative. Because boy, are we ever creative sometimes to figure out what's going to work, what's not, and tweak in the moment. If we're nothing else in early childhood, we're flexible, aren't we? You have to be. You have to be able to adapt and modify in the moment. What's the most important thing to know? Child's strengths, their needs, their interests, how they participate. Is it simple and efficient? Because you don't want to have this robust idea with no plan to get there. Anybody remember the coach Herm Edwards from football? One of his best quotes ever, "A goal without a plan is a wish." He's absolutely correct. If you have a goal but you don't have a way to get there, you have no blueprint, it's just a wish. How are you going to get to the end point? Incorporate child in creation of visual when possible. Let them become part of the process. Do an outline of the visual that you want and let them color it in. Then laminate it. They become part of that process for the visual.
Okay. Visuals help to make those expectations for kids more concrete because it helps them to see what's expected to them. It also helps with predictability. And for those students, especially, we have so many students that are on the autism spectrum. If they're not understanding spoken language, those visuals help to bring that expectation to the table, and it's a way for them to know what they're supposed to do. It also helps with clearly defining the beginning of a task and an end of a task. And we know when especially again, those students on the spectrum, their language may be lower. So by knowing this is where I start and this is where I finish will help to reduce the behaviors. Like Lori said earlier, the visuals have tremendous benefits, and I think as we develop them, we have to keep the students' interests in mind, keep their strengths in mind. We have seen so many students over the years that really struggle to respond to anything verbally, yet they are so successful with completing a matching task. And we're going to get into some specific visual schedules, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like.
So we're going to watch a little YouTube. I'll come back and figure out how to do this again. But it's truly just talking about why visuals? Why do we use them? It's nice, short, concise, and it gets to the point as to what we're kind of talking about here. So let me pull that up, and we're going to look at that, and then we will move on.
We use visuals every day. Icons, traffic signs, calendars, clocks, maps, recipes, grocery lists, and more. For students, visuals provide a form of communication that lasts much longer than spoken language. Examples include visual schedules, time timers, scripted routines, checklists, and visual reminders. Visuals literally help your students see what you mean. For students who are visual thinkers, have language processing delays, are easily distracted, anxious, or English language learners, visuals provide comfort, predictability, and access to the same information as their peers. People often think it is helpful to repeat instructions and provide verbal prompts, but more words can simply mean more language to process. Imagine getting to a vending machine and the visuals have been removed. Don't worry, Vinny will tell you everything you need to know. What if the visuals on your phone were removed and replaced with someone to remind you of everything verbally? Suppose we removed all visuals from your recipe book. Fortunately, we have your mother-in-law on standby. We all need visuals in our life. Using more visuals throughout the day will help all students. Visuals encourage independence and inclusion. They reduce anxiety and frustration. They support self-regulation and universal design for learning. Visuals
Does anybody have any aha moments from watching that little clip? Anything that just sort of clicked with you?
I just like that little catchphrase. They can literally see what you mean.
Yes.
I think that like kind of is a nice, short, sweet little catchphrase that can really help us to remember the importance of visuals.
Anybody else, anything to share?
I think that's so true, and that's so easy when you're trying to explain it, not only to your staff, but to families. It gives them perspective as to why visuals are so important and truly what they're used for. I like that, Danielle, thank you.
Yeah.
Way in the back.
Okay.
The vending machine, like, now I can see what they hear when I stand up in front of my classroom and just say the directions, and what book they need out, and what supplies they need.
Right.
So that was a very good visual.
Yeah.
For sure. Any comments on, one thing that caught me with this was your dual language learners. How many of you have dual language learners in your classrooms?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us. And we are seeing more dual language learners. So imagine you're 3 years old, you've never been away from home, you've been exposed to, say, Spanish at home, and now you're in a preschool and nobody speaks your language. What are you going to do? You're going to look to see what everybody else is doing. And visuals are very effective with the dual language learners. I mean, of course, we're going to pair the language with the visual, but it's a great strategy to help the children understand what's expected to them, of them in that situation. Okay, does anybody use signs or another visual? Does anybody use signs in their classroom?
Lisa does.
Wow, that is awesome. I'm glad to see that. What are some that you most frequently use? Okay, we have somebody that's using more. Anybody else? Please, help, more, okay.
Put it up high.
Yeah. Oh, what's this? Potty. That's an important one for our young learners. So this is a list of signs, and again, this will be in your handouts that you can use. One sign that is not up here is share. And I'm just curious, how do you go about teaching that word share or the act of sharing in your classrooms? What do you do? Go ahead. Here, I'll come and meet you.
Who would like to share? No pun intended.
We do a lot of modeling. So I'll take items, if it's Legos, and I'll say, I have some, you have some. And we'll just do it visually.
Okay. So she uses, really, it's a model, it's a visual model, a social model to teach that term share. That is a really abstract term. Go ahead.
I teach kindergarten, and we do a lot of work with like social skills and social stories at the beginning of the year, especially. We use puppets to kind of act out a situation and then give kids a chance to kind of like think, pair, share. They don't realize they're doing that yet, but it gives them kind of a way to think about the scenario and kind of respond or talk about how they might handle it. And then we can kind of go forward, and then also books are a really good way to approach any topic with young learners, because they kind of are enjoying the story, but you can also make them realize that it applies to them as well, and they probably are experiencing these situations too.
Absolutely. One of our teachers, and we have a comment up here, one of our teachers who actually taught our deaf and hard of hearing class, she phrased it beautifully. She said that she uses friendly sabotage to teach it. Friendly sabotage, because you set them up. So she and her assistant would work together, and then the assistant would do something that would have to kind of put the student in the role of almost like the teacher saying, you can't do that. So it's that friendly sabotage where they have to think and problem solve through that sharing. Go ahead, Christine.
With the littlest ones, I think starting the activities of, doing it, a lot of activities of my turn, your turn, and verbalizing that as you model it, as you do the activities. And I noticed that the kids that have not done that a lot, when they're little, by the time they hit preschool, even when you say the word share, that instantly to them kind of conveys that sharing means I'm losing it and I'm not getting it back. Where if you kind of do the concept of my turn, your turn, oh, look, we shared, they start to realize, oh, I still get my turn and I will get it again, but right now it's somebody else's turn. So we do a lot of that with them.
Yeah, and we're going to learn some of these signs as we go through. We're not going to take the time to do it right now up here, but as we go through, there are going to be some slides where you're going to see that we have pictures of some signs. So share. We're going to talk about why it looks like this. My turn, your turn. That's shared. So basically looking at what we call the baker's dozen. So it's kind of a wrap up of everything we just talked about, just kind of in a list. So you can just keep clicking. Child interest, it connects fun and nurturing, celebrates all we can do. And this is on behalf of the students. So reinforce, tell me what you want to see more of from me. That's what those visuals do. Collaborate. Well, mommy and daddy know me best, so they're going to share what with us? Interest. I heard it. Interest, maybe aversives, things that they don't like, and how we can really engage them in our classroom. That consistent routine prepares me for transitions, any type of change. What's the worst thing we have? Fire drills. They're like the bane of my existence, fire drills, because you can't really plan for them, especially if they're a drill and they don't tell you about them ahead of time. So other than that, prepares me for transitions. Structure, my environment, the materials, the activities, and the rules. We have classroom rules or expectations, or however you want to phrase it, we have them. So it helps with that. Say it simple. Make sure you're not just showing that you're communicating with me as well. So it's the visual paired with the words. Clear expectations. How much do I have to do? Make it clear. What do I do? How do I know when I'm done? And how I know what's coming next. All of that can work with visuals. All of that works with a visual schedule. That first then. Model. Actions speak loudly. What was your name? Yeah. Alana. Yeah, just like Alana said, you want to model. Show them what you want them to do. Friendly sabotage. Remember that key term as well. Give choices. It helps me feel included. It gives me ownership. It shows my interest. It allows me to make the decision. You're still in control as the teacher, but you're giving them the choice. You want them to do one of these two things or one of these three things, but it gives them a choice. Breaks new things into small steps, just like a recipe. It just doesn't give you this is what it looks like at the end. It gives you the steps to get there. That's what visuals do as well. Multi-modalities for learning and participation. It's active, creative. You can role play, and then just use of visuals. So that's the baker's dozen. Okay, time for school. Best sign out there. No adults allowed unless accompanied by children. Often we see it reversed.
And do you notice how everybody's sitting there and participating so nicely?
Because they have visuals. So when we look at play, and I think this is an important slide, coming from the early intervention world and early childhood world, it's important to look at play in the eyes of kiddos without developmental delays and play through the eyes of students with developmental delays. Mm-hmm. So play for kiddos without developmental delays, it's voluntary, spontaneous, it's internally reinforcing, it's flexible, and it's creative. It's fun. For children with developmental delays, it could be that it's more ritualistic. It may not be functional. It could be repetitive, could show limited interest if they're playing with the same thing all the time, and it could be very rigid. You see them very rigid in their play. So utilizing visuals to help expand their repertoire really helps to engage all learners, whether it's without developmental delays or with. Challenges. It may not be so much fun. Sometimes whenever we have to get down on the floor with the kiddos, do we like what they're playing? No. Do we really want to get our hands in that Play-Doh too? No. But we do it because it's fun for them and we want to be engaging with them, but just know Play-Doh might not be fun for everybody. The supervisor of our program, she does not like squishy things and she won't touch them. So if we have to give squishy things out at in-service or anything like that, she just holds the box out and you have to take it out. She doesn't like that sensory stuff. Play is work and work is play. I think everybody sitting in this room understands that. Play is work and work is play. Unpredictable, inconsistent, it's less structured. Yep, we know play is less structured. Sometimes you have many choices. When I walk into classrooms and I see all of these things out, sometimes it gives me heart palpitations because it's very overwhelming for students. I think it's very overwhelming for staff because guess what? All those blocks that are over there are going to end up on the floor, and guess who's going to end up picking them up? Usually it's the staff. Usually the students will pick up a little bit, but in the end, you're picking it up. What is the worst craft thing you can use? Glitter. Yep. Yep. Confusing. Play can be confusing. What am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to use it? What's my role in this social activity? Sometimes that can be very challenging for kiddos. What we can do is we can add the visuals. They add predictability, consistency, structure, choices, and they help to explain those social rules.
Okay, so we have some posters put up around the room it's organized by the different parts of your day. So if you look on this side, we have arrival. Most of you probably run a circle time, thumbs up, circle time. That's pretty.
Morning meeting,
yeah,
thing.
Yeah. Maybe you're doing some exercise or gross motor time in your classrooms, a story time. And then if you look on this side, bathroom time, snack time, art time, fine motor, and then your departure routine. How many of you have a departure routine that you follow? Do you sing a little song? Is there any sort of routine that you follow at the end of your day so kids know what to expect to help prepare them for that transition to go home? Departure routines? A couple of you have them? Okay.
Departure is really important because that's the finality. Like, that's the end of their day that they know that they're getting with mom, dad to go home. Or they're getting on the bus to go home, to where they are familiar and they're safe. Yes, they become familiar with the classroom, but where's their safe haven for the most part? At home. That's what they're most familiar with. So for arrival, we can do visuals for many different things. For greeting the students, how many of you guys have their pictures on popsicle sticks or something like that? Visuals. There's a place for my things. How many have cubbies? Put their picture of their backpack on their cubby. That kind of helps show them where their backpack goes. Maybe there's a schedule right above the cubby to show, first I take off my jacket, then I put my backpack on my hook, then I open my backpack, then I get my folder out. All those different steps become part of the visual. It helps them know what to do next. Name tags are always a great thing. Cubby matching, so maybe if they're attendants, they have a cubby match where they match their picture to their cubby so that we know who's there. Gives choices, and there's also a task schedule for what's coming up during the day for arrival. Then we look at circle time. One of the best things, and we're gonna have to go into it, but one of the best things that I've found is a picker wheel. Anybody use the picker wheel? One person. Oh, this is gonna change your life. So you know how, and I'm gonna show you how to do this, but there's a site called Picker Wheel. It takes the onus off of you of choosing the kiddos. It's the wheel's fault, right? So where it says inputs, you can put any names or any colors or anything that you want in there. Then go ahead and click the eyeball beside inputs, Kelly. The eyeball to the left. Oh, no, keep going. Yep, that. You hide them, and then you take turns and you spin it. And it'll land on the name or whatever it is of the person. So me, woohoo! And so yay, it's me. And then you hide your choice, because I was already selected, and then it takes me away. So then it spins the next person. That is so cool, because you can use this for literally anything. You can type in activities, centers, you name it, you can put it in there, spin it around, and it takes the onus off of you. You're not the one telling them, nope, you have to go here. The wheel picked you. It's the wheel. So anytime we can deflect, deflect. Okay, we're going to go back to the PowerPoint.
We on gross motor.
No. Yeah, but we're not on the... So for exercise gross motor, there we go. So for exercise and gross motor, there are many, many things that we can do. We know that there is often not a lot of space in our classrooms for gross motor types of things. But you have tunnels you can get out that collapse easily. You can do the foam blocks that they can step on. One thing that we've gotten for our classrooms are like these, it's the Gange River things, but they can step on them, easy to stack and put away. So they're great things that you can use. You can mark space. What's one thing that you can use easily to mark space in your room? Chalk. Tape. What kind of tape? Don't use duct tape. I'll tell you, unless you want it there permanently, don't use it. What's a good electrical tape? Also, painter's tape.
Painter's tape.
Painter's tape is great. So you can mark your space. I was in a classroom, actually in York County, in one of the pre-K counts classrooms, and she was doing a gross motor activity. And you know how usually whenever you do that, you want them in one area? She did a dance party, and they were spread out all over the room. It didn't matter if they were standing in a different center area or not, but it gave everybody their own space. It's not a very big classroom. So that was a great idea. I'm like, that's perfect. I'm taking that back with me. I give her all the credit. But that is something that you can do easily to make space. When we think about taking turns, my turn, your turn. Kelly's going to show you the sign for that.
Okay, so we're all going to practice. We're going to practice my turn. My turn. Pretty easy, right? Like you're turning something. Now we're going to practice your turn. Your turn. So you've just added a visual to that instruction. And you'll see as you do this, the kids will imitate it, and it'll help it'll click for them that, oh, I get to go now, and then you get to go now. And as an added bonus, you're teaching pronouns. My and your.
Another sign that we have is share. And we're going to kind of just show you what that means because Joe's going to look at me and say, you got 10 minutes here real soon, right?
Oh my, 10 minutes. All right, we got to snap it up.
So for share, how does it, remember we kind of talked about share, non-dominant hand like this, dominant hand here, mine, yours. So it's mine and it's yours. So I'm sharing back and forth. Okay?
Makes sense, doesn't it? And again, all you've done is added a sign to teach a really abstract word to a young child.
Okay, we're going to fly through some of these a little bit because we're running short on time. Story time, you can add visuals to story time. It's really neat if you can find them online and you can actually print off the characters and you can have them interactive with the book. So laminate a book and then put Velcro on and have the characters, and it's very much engaging that way.
And it helps to keep the kids engaged because they get ready to do something. Oh, there's that house, I have the house, I have to match it. Choral responding is another great way to help keep kids engaged and increases the desire for kids to learn. I love choral responding. Do many of you use that? Choral
Yeah.
responding, yeah. Okay. Bathroom is a really, it's big in our world. And it's important then to pair those visuals for kids to have a way to ask. What is this? Potty.
Potty.
Yep. So again, pairing that visual with the word. Waiting. We have, this year, we have a preschool that we're really collaborating with really well, and they have 4 students enrolled in their preschool with behavior issues, and a couple are on the autism spectrum. So to help with the whole bathroom routine, our staff created a visual schedule. She actually went in, took a picture of the bathroom, took a picture of the sink, took a picture of the steps going up to the bathroom, and then she created what's called a social story. So it was a picture of the steps, so the kids had to walk up the steps. Then they had to wait in a line, so she had where they had to wait. Then the next picture was of the bathroom, and then the 4th picture was wash their hands. And you know what we found? The behaviors surrounding that transition declined. Mm-hmm. And the kids learned that routine because all of the visuals were in place, and it was so concrete for them.
One of the last slides in our PowerPoint, I have a bunch of websites listed. This is a really good one, and it has the word free in it, and it is free. Freeprintablebehaviorcharts.com. It has charts for anything imaginable. Pottying, arrival, all of that. It even has character-themed charts. So if they're into Spider-Man or what have you, it's on there as well.
Okay.
So snack time. How many of you use visuals for snack time? Okay, if you have kiddos who have difficulty requesting, this is a really great way to utilize a choice board. It's for trying new foods, for menus, choices, requesting. Kelly has a couple ideas that she uses.
So has anybody seen a little notebook like this? In this, we typically will put some pages with some pictures on it for foods, or like a little sentence strip to help kids expand their language. And again, you're just using those visuals to help support their needs at snack time. This is one of my favorites. It's $1 at Dollar Tree. Anybody have any idea what we would do with this little plastic cutting board? We put some core vocabulary words on here with pictures so that kids that may struggle to communicate, they can carry this around and they have some words with them. So $1, and it's a really inexpensive way to help bring those visuals to kids that might struggle with their communication skills.
One of our speech therapists gave us that idea, and she said she visited a website called Dollar Tree SLP. And they have a whole bunch of things on there.
Yeah.
So we're going to fly through these next few slides because we are running really short on time. Art time, you can do a whole bunch of different things with the different types of taking turns and using different mediums in order to utilize the different materials in art time. Fine motor. I'm fortunate to be married to an OT, so he shares with me all these different kind of cool ideas. How many of us have kiddos who struggle with zippers on backpacks, zippers on coats? Yep. Best thing ever made, zip ties. Zip ties, use them in one of the colors. Don't use black because they blend in too much. Put a zip tie on there, promotes finger isolation, and it gives them a way to pull it up and pull it down. Zip ties. There's also foam tubing out there to make the grips a little bit thicker on different implements that you can use. If you don't have foam tubing, no worries. Tape masking tape, electrical tape, keep going around and around and around and around. It makes it thicker. Departure, you have the goodbye circle, songs, celebrating each child before they leave. How many positives to a negative? 5. Good job. I just taught that in my Penn State class that I'm teaching. I said, how many positives to a negative? And they looked at me like, oh, 5 to 1. So this is what we were going to do for the activity. We're just going to let you take the sample schedule that we have with you and kind of think about your day and what you can use as far as visuals in those different parts of the day instead of putting up the Post-its. Big things often have small beginnings. We know that. Celebrating what we can do. Same doesn't always equal fair. We talked about that in the one this morning. Just because one kiddo has a fidget, it doesn't mean that somebody else needs one too. Inside, we're all the same. That's the peeps. Inside, we're all the same. This was your make and take. And the reason that we did this one is because these are really great that you can make choice cubes. You can do it for anything, whether it's centers, choices, figuring out where they're going to go for centers. All of that is a visual for a choice cube. So you have that to take with you, that pattern to make. These are different things that we've created and that you can create as well. We've talked about the choice boards, schedules, signs, social stories, activity cards, text, and the natural weighted language stimulation. And then these are the websites that we listed there. Challenging behavior was one that we talked about as well. We're hoping that we can upload our PowerPoint so that you guys have access to that. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
It's not open.
We'll try to get that PowerPoint online for you guys so that you'll have all these wonderful resources. Thank you, Dr. Lori and Kelly. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everybody.